Y'all know I love a good book with a purpose, and Glow Rose Books is all about creating stories and journals that help kids and teens name their feelings, find their voice, and feel seen. From Goodnight My Blessing to Gary and Negative Dino, and journals like Look, I'm Mad and You Don't Need the Likes. Every page is designed to spark conversation, reflection, and growth. These books are perfect for parents, educators, and anyone who wants to help young people express themselves in healthy ways. You can grab your copies right now at glowrosebooks.com. And if you missed it, go back to season 1, episode 5 of the Black Girl Iowa podcast to hear my in-depth conversation with the author herself, Glow Rose. Trust me, you're going to want to listen. Hello, and welcome back to the Black Girl Iowa podcast, the podcast where we celebrate stories, experiences, and accomplishments of Black men and women in Greater Des Moines and beyond. I'm your host, Emili, and today I'm honored with being able to talk with a really awesome person today. She is a lifelong learner, leader, and advocate with deep roots in Iowa. Proud graduate of Des Moines Technical High School's class of 1973. She went on to earn a Bachelor of Science degree in journalism from the University of Kansas in 1977. She later pursued her passion for education, earning a master's degree from Iowa State University. She dedicated over 2 decades to empowering students through Iowa State's Science-Bound program and made significant contributions to education, communications, and public service. Currently serving as City Council member in Ames, she also lends her experience to numerous community organizations, including Friendship Baptist Church, the Ames branch of the NAACP, Northwest Bank, and the Ames Community School Board. Beyond her roles, she is also an accomplished author, written 2 children's books, Angels Watchin' and Nobody Knows, under the pen name A. Shelton Rollins. When asked about the best thing about growing up in Iowa, she said, "My Iowa education has served me well. I was ready for my undergraduate program, and I enjoyed getting my advanced degree from Iowa State." Ladies, gentlemen, and non-binary friends, I'd like to welcome Councilwoman Anita Rollins to the show. Anita, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm thrilled to have an opportunity to talk with you. I've admired your work from afar, and now I get to participate. So, okay.
Thank you. Yes, I love always seeing your Instagram pop up as you like all of my stuff and you interact with it. And that just really means a lot because this podcast is definitely my passion, but I also enjoy people interacting with it and getting something out of it too. So I appreciate your support. So we talked a little bit just even before we started the interview and everything, but I want to talk a little bit more just about your experience here in Iowa. Now, as I understand, you were born and raised here, correct?
I was. Yeah, my parents actually moved here from Missouri. So having those roots still in Missouri, but a family member came, other family members came, and so our family came to be in Des Moines. I am the oldest of 2 children. My parents, I grew up on the east side of Des Moines, and that was really a good experience. And the period of time made it a good experience as well. I think that because of growing up at a time when things like say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud, and those kinds of messages were everywhere, Black Power movement, your king, even though I would have been younger, those types of messages being in the atmosphere really encouraged a good, positive view of Blackness, as well as, neighborhood that I grew up in was primarily Black. And those things really meant a lot in terms of helping me to feel good about being a Black person growing up in Iowa.
My mom went to Tech as well, and she's born and raised here as well. She's one of 8, and our roots are in Mississippi. But she explained kind of the same thing to me in that growing up in Iowa, even though it's flyover state, center of the United States, there was a really strong Black community here, and there always has been. And then when you think about the social climate of everything with civil rights and Dr. King, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, and this push for Black empowerment and Black excellence,
Right.
it almost seems as if it's a simpler time in comparison to the times that we are living in now, with so many things that are being reversed. It
Yeah.
almost seems like we're taking a step back, but we're even going back before that time that you were just talking about. So I guess that kind of leads me into my first question. With you being city councilwoman in Ames, and I do believe the first Black person to be elected to city council, what was your driving purpose to get involved with local politics, and how important is representation to you now that you're sitting in that space?
Yeah, I am the first Black woman to be in this position. There had been a Black man, but I do think that representation is important. But I also think bringing a particular lens and those experiences of life to that position are important as well. When I think about the representation piece, modeling and being able to be viewed, I think is really critical. It does help people to think about who can do a thing. I mean,
Hmm.
we were watching this with Kamala Harris and of course, Barack Obama and others
Hmm.
that are breaking down those barriers in terms of how we think about who can do a particular thing. So I do think that representation is really important. But then
Hmm.
with that representation, I know for me, the largest drive isn't about, oh, I should do this so I can be the first Black female who does that. But it's more about what can I offer? And I do
Yeah.
think that I bring a particular lens to the work that I do. I always have in my mind who is at the table, who is not
Hmm.
here. How can we make the table longer or
Yeah.
add more chairs to it?
Right. Yeah.
I think about things like language. I think about communication and the methods that we use so that people who pay their taxes here know what the city is doing and have a chance to know how they can give voice to that work. And I think that is a lens that's allowed me to push some things in a little bit different way than maybe they have had in the past. It's also about bringing in more people from other backgrounds to be part of that city operation. So trying to find more people of color to learn to be parts of boards and commissions. So I'm not thinking I'm the be all end all, but I'm sure going to keep tapping my friends and associates and acquaintances and also trying to build those mentoring relationships so that when I am no longer here, perhaps some doors have been opened that feel important and that others want to walk through.
When you have the representation there, it motivates other people. I remember having a similar conversation with Renee Hardman, the city councilwoman in West Des Moines, and it was really that. It's like if I get into this position, then I can encourage and build the community within here. And a lot of that building community, it's getting everyone at the table, but also educating people about, just like what you said, what are your tax paying dollars actually paying for,
Mhm.
and really reminding people that they have a stake in everything
Agreed.
that's happening. I I I really love that. And then with your career, with you, being at Iowa State and doing Science Bound and, retiring from that and then being so involved in your church and different executive boards and things like that, I have to ask, you know, why politics now? Like, why not just do those things and then say, I'm gonna, take time, I'm gonna relax, I'm gonna enjoy things. I think it's one of those things where, the Black woman is forever busy. Like, I'm over here looking at another master's or a PhD program. I just finished school.
Right.
So kind of
Right.
why politics now in this season of life that you're in?
I think, well, largely because there was an opportunity and that opportunity when it presented itself and I did my research, I talked to people that were currently in city council. I talked to people who were in the community. I went to council meetings in part because I wanted to I think it's important to get a feel for whether or not something's a good fit. I could have just said, I'm going to run for city council. But for me, it was about making sure that I could actually make a contribution to that work.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, when I was approached, it was pre the things that are going on in our politics right now. But I can tell you that one reason that city council and city governance felt like a good place to do this type of work is because the people that you are making decisions about, you run into everywhere when you go to church, when you go to the grocery store, when you are driving down the street, but also the decisions that we make affect me immediately as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I tell people, it can be perhaps easy for someone in DC to make a decision about cutting funding to something or to increase funding to another thing or to give someone a tax break or to not give someone a tax break. But because I live here and I know that those decisions affect me as well as my community immediately, it
Mm-hmm.
it gives me more pause. And so I like the immediacy of this type of governance.
How awesome is it that you're able to see your work in action? You're able to see how you collaborate with other council members and again for the betterment of the city of Ames. Because I think, yes, Ames does grow in population by about 32,000 people, for 8 months out of the year.
Yes.
Yeah. But at the same time, in those summer months, in those down times for like fall break and winter break and spring break, you're seeing those same people. And of course, I think I think it's very admirable that you saw a responsibility to them and that you are continuing on to say, you know what, now you guys have done so much for me. I'm gonna now kind of give back in that way. I think that's fantastic.
Absolutely. Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you. Yep. God
absolutely.
is good. I do think too, it has a great deal to do about answering your calling. And
Mm,
I have often felt that my gift of helps is such that it really has me, you listed some of the things that I'm involved
yeah.
in, that because I really do have, I think, a God given or God planted sort of desire to do what I can to make things better. And I actually believe that everyone has a responsibility to try to leave something better than they found it, whether that is the organizations that they serve in, whether that's the city that they are a part of, whether that's the relationships that they are privileged to be part of as well, that leaving something better than you found it. I just believe that that is a calling that we all have.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, speaking of a calling, and we talked a little bit about this before, but you were the program director for Science Bound for 20 years. So, I believe is it 1998 or 1999 to 2019, right?
Something like that. Sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
have
Yes. No,
that
no,
info. But
that's
2019 was
okay.
for sure the last year. So yes.
Yes. It's really interesting because, some of my past guests are Science Bound alumni.
Yeah.
And those are some of my best friends. Um, and granted, and on top of that, my nephew is in Science Bound, and he absolutely loves it. He started in the 7th grade. He's at Roosevelt now. He's gotten a couple of awards, and he's doing really, really well with it. So very, very proud of him for that. Can you talk to me about, and I know that the dynamics of Science Bound has changed, but can you just tell me a little bit about why it was important for you to not only be a part of that program, but grow it and mold it into what it is today?
Sure, sure. So as a program manager, I was not actually the program director, but it is still true, I believe, that education unlocks all types of opportunities. And it is still true, sadly, that many students of color are not seen as capable, as
Mm,
able to do the work. There's all types of research about still what happens with teachers when student A, who's of color, does a thing, and student B, who's white, does a thing, and how they respond to those things. And so I really, um, I came to the work sort of through the back door. I was
mm,
actually wrote the newsletter for the program, and
okay.
during the farm crisis, and as a result of the person who was the program coordinator going to something new, an opportunity came about, and I thought, man, I would love to do this. And so
Yeah.
it was offered, I did take that opportunity, primarily because I do think education is so much a part of how a person can advance and fulfill their life dreams and comfort, find in terms of physical comfort and some of those things that are part of this American dream. Well, and of course, the science bound, and I don't know, people may already know what it's like, but it's an 8th through 12th grade program. It is a program that encourages more young people who are of color to go into STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields. But if students meet the requirements of the program and then choose to come to Iowa State, then they have earned a tuition scholarship there if they stay in a STEM area. And that is how I came to know some of your fabulous past guests that I really
Yes.
admire greatly and have had the privilege of getting to watch them grow into the fabulous young women that they are now. But it has been that type of an atmosphere, being part of that, knowing the potential and getting that opportunity to see that actualized has been one of the thrills of a lifetime. And it is what did push me back to graduate school because I wanted to do the job that I did better. I had the passion, I had the interest. Now I needed that education background to make sure that I could serve students and families well.
Seeing students of color interested in those STEM fields, and we see the world from such a different lens. And one of the really rewarding things about Science Bound is, again, opening that pathway with the scholarship. So when I was working at Iowa State, I would come in and do like the admissions conversation and all of that stuff and help the seniors do their applications, and to walk seniors through the application
Right.
and they hit the submit button. And then all you're seeing all over is congratulations, you're in, congratulations, you're in.
Yes.
And that realization that I get to continue what I'm doing now in college,
Mhm.
and I don't have to be super far away from home. And, I can go to a place that's familiar to me because these kids have been going to campus since, like you said, the 8th
Eighth
grade.
grade. Yes.
So it was a really good feeling. And then even I've sat in sessions where they've been able to talk to Science Bound alum, and you just see in their eyes, they're like, wow, all of these things are truly possible
Yes.
for me to be a doctor, for me to be in occupational therapy, for me to do project management for a pharmaceutical company. Like it's really great to see all of those things. And I wanted to ask for you personally during that time span, does that lasting impact of Science Bound look like for you with that program?
Gosh, in terms of how I experience it, it's a feeling of having made a difference. There are many young people that I still stay in touch with, and even though they may not know they're staying in touch with me, I might be stalking them on Facebook or something
Yes.
because I
Yes.
just am so incredibly proud of what they have been able to accomplish. Having that opportunity to play even a small role in their future success. As the program coordinator, most of what I did was make sure all the nuts and bolts worked in a way that worked for everyone, for the students, the families, the teachers, and those experiences at Iowa State. But as a result of that, I did get to know those students and families. And so, yeah, that's what has been part of the reward. The other reward is just knowing that perhaps without the program, they would not be where they are. And knowing that the university and our program had an opportunity to launch those families, we often talked about that in one generation, a family, because of Science Bound, could end up being at that lower income level and being middle to high income as a result of that young person being part of this program. And so that's a phenomenal thing. They do the hard work. We just try to bring around them the right set of resources and opportunities that help them excel.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fantastic. And I think you're right. the impact is everlasting. You're not only changing the life of that student, but like the trajectory almost of that family and what that could potentially look like. So that's not something I would have connected, but I'm happy that you connected it for me.
Yeah.
That's incredible for sure. Again, you have had an amazing career. You're in a new season of life. You're doing city council. I know you're also a mother of two and just a very, very busy woman. So, one of the things that I think about a lot, especially now that I'm approaching the end of my 30s and I'm actually in the last year of my 30s now, that's totally fine. But I keep kind of thinking about what I would have like told my younger self, especially my younger self that felt like I didn't have a space. Like no one really kind of cared about what I needed to be successful or how I needed to thrive, but obviously like keep pushing and things like that. So with everything that you've been able to do and achieve, if you had an opportunity, and you had mentioned before, if you had an opportunity to talk to nerdy Anita from high school about the trajectory of where her life is going to go,
Mhm.
what would you say to her?
Good question. And I'll just say I am a mother of five and I have three
Five. Okay.
grandchildren, but
Okay.
but I think I would say it's going to be all right. And here's what I mean. That even though growing up in Iowa, I did feel good about my Blackness, for whatever reason, I wasn't well connected to other Black people who were doing the thing. And so
Mm,
there was a part of me that somehow I internalized that, I didn't see Black people in positions of power. I didn't see them in corporations. I didn't see them in
mm,
those kinds of arenas. And so to a great deal, I thought, I'm out of Iowa. I'm not coming back here. And of course, I didn't realize how much of a sense of humor God has. And so it looks like
doesn't he though?
I was just like, no, shake off the dust. Never going to live there again. Did this little Midwestern tour, Kansas, Missouri, Ohio.
Hmm.
And then it was back to Iowa. And it just was like, are you kidding me? But
Hmm.
I think what I would have said is that it's going to be all right, because I think that found more here than I thought I had found, gained more here than I thought I had gained. And that preparation really set me on a course that would allow me to navigate change so that at this point in life, I can actually say it's been an interesting journey. Hasn't all been great. Hasn't all been smooth. Nobody's life is. That's reality
Right.
of living. But at
Right.
the same
Right.
time, I can look back and see some really good things, and I can see some really good things ahead. I do think that that would have been the message, that it's going to be all right. And that would be the message that I would say for anyone, that you'll be surprised how well your past will serve you in developing your future. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah. And that's definitely something that I feel like is always going to center. I know me for like myself, like when I feel like I'm getting overwhelmed, it's always okay, Emily, everything's going to work out the way it is. It's going to be okay. But I do want to touch on God does have an incredible sense of humor, because I thought the exact same thing. I thought when I left Iowa in 2010, I was never coming back.
Right.
I was like, I'm done with Iowa. I am ready to ride off on the sunset with my, at the time, new husband and go and live. Just like you, like I had a great experience. I lived up in Wisconsin for a little bit. I was in Wyoming, which was an experience. I lived in Arizona, which was amazing, but
Right.
it was just something about home that
Uh-huh.
called me back. And the things that I've been able to accomplish here, I'm realizing I couldn't accomplish in those places because God didn't mean for those things to happen in those spaces.
Amen.
And that's something that that I'm coming to realize now. I had to kind of go through and do all of those things. And then coming home, it was like, okay, now that you're home, here's how your life can change and you can live
Right.
the life and do the things that you've always wanted to do. So, and so going through a divorce, going through grad school and everything else, like starting this podcast, it all makes sense now.
Yes.
So, and maybe in 20 years, I'll be having a similar conversation to say,
That's
what would you have told 39-year-old Emily?
that's right. That's right.
Yes, absolutely.
It will be
Absolutely.
better than you think. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. So, I definitely think that your advice also definitely speaks to the climate of where we are right now and, just how a lot of Black women, Black people are feeling is that granted, it is really tough right now. In the long run, everything is going to be okay. If you had any words of encouragement for the Black community, your constituents about some of the things that are happening right now to kind of close out this conversation, what would those things be? How can you make them feel that sense of peace when everything feels like it's in turmoil?
Right. Right. Well, of course, on the spiritual side, I would say definitely that has to do with leaning into your personal relationship with Christ and finding peace there. But in terms of thinking about community members,
Hmm.
I would say, first of all, self care. We know that mental health, actually, I was just at a state of wellness that was here at the city of Ames, a panel discussion. And we have at our hospital a residential area for folks who might be in mental health crisis. And I heard the staggering number that 200 to 300 people per month are being turned away because they just don't have space. So no matter,
Mm,
and that's of every color, but
yeah.
some of those have to be some people, individuals of color. So taking care of ourselves, I would say, is first order of business. That may mean keeping your relationship strong. That might mean getting to therapy. It could mean not letting your voice be taken away because of
Hmm.
chaos. And it absolutely means continuing to do the things that you can, that are within your ability to control, I believe, to make a difference.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
as we care for ourselves and care for other people, there's power in that. There's synergistic power that occurs as we are all caring for one another. So the encouragement is not to double down on being alone, but to double
Hmm.
down on trying to find those avenues in which you can be connected, be in community, but
Hmm.
also take advantage of the resources that you need to take care of yourself at this
Yes.
time. It can feel very combative, and it's okay to have those moments of distress and stress, but it's
Hmm.
what you do about it. Those are your warning signs, like, okay,
Hmm.
something's wrong. What are we going to
Yeah.
do about it? Not stay
Right.
stuck here. What are we going to do about it? And finding the things that work for you is really
Mhm.
critical.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the self-care piece is amazing because at the end of the day, self-care is a radical act of love. That is one of the best ways to ground yourself. And I feel like, especially as Black women, we are, I said in another episode, sometimes I feel like the 24-hour woman and I'm just going and going and going and going, having that time to sit, to be in a quiet space, to meditate, to think, to understand and be in my surroundings, I think is incredibly important. So I think that's fantastic
Right.
advice. And I'm so happy that we had this talk. Your support of this podcast has been amazing. So I definitely
Voice
appreciate you
over
so much.
connect. And my little
Yes.
heart is like, oh, good, she's still doing it.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I love getting that notification. So for all my guests though at this time in the show though, I want to make sure that people know where to find you and to follow you, especially your constituents. up in Ames. So I want to roll out the red carpet, give you an opportunity to let people know where they can get a hold of you and follow your journey as councilwoman.
Absolutely. So I do have a Rollins for Council. If they want to reach out for me on Instagram or on Facebook, they can reach me that way.
Okay.
And then if they want to use my city email, they can do that as well. And then it's ANITA period ROLLINS at cityofames.org. Happy to hear from people, answer questions, be encouraging, whatever I can do. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. And I will make sure to have all of that information in the show notes. Anita, thank you again so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
So let me ask you this. When was the last time you took a moment just for yourself? Not for work, not for school, not for family, but for you. That's where journaling comes in. And that's exactly why I created my journaling kits. Each kit is designed to make it super easy and honestly, really fun to start your journaling journey. You'll get a decorated journal with over 100 prompts to spark your creativity, plus washi tape, stickers, cards, and even a sweet treat to keep you inspired. Journaling is more than just writing. It's self-care, it's reflection, it's dreaming bigger. And with these kits, you don't have to stare at a blank page wondering where to start. I've got you covered with prompts that will help you reflect, plan, and grow. They're just $18, and you can grab yours today on Etsy in the Black Girl Iowa shop. Don't wait to start your journaling journey. Your thoughts, your dreams, your story, they deserve a page.